To the panel of evaluators, to the CIs, and my fellow students, good morning. We are the BSN 3D Group 3B. I am Nicole Aubrey Arvila Vicencio, and my group mates are Kensha Reynaldo, Christine Treyes, Daniel Tubal, Kaiser Tuhao, and Patricia Vaflor. We are here to present our research entitled Disaster Preparedness Among the Elderly. Disaster originates from humans or nature that causes disruption in the community or society. Elderly are the most vulnerable during and after disasters. 800,000 people are over the age of 60. More than 46,000 are either staying with family and friends, but those without families are at risk. This is to determine the level of preparedness of the elderly, which may enhance disaster research and response methodologies. For the objectives, the study aimed to determine the disaster preparedness among the elderly. Specifically, the study aimed to answer the following questions. What is the profile of the elderly according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income? What is the disaster preparedness level of the elderly in terms of disaster prevalence when grouped according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income? What is the disaster preparedness level of the elderly in terms of factors that contributes to the risk among the elderly when grouped according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income? What is the disaster preparedness level of the elderly in terms of protection and preventive measures to avoid risk among the elderly when grouped according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income? Lastly, is there a significant relationship in the disaster preparedness level of the elderly when grouped according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income?
Hypothesis: there's no significant relationship in the preparedness level of the elderly when grouped according to age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income. The results indicate that the profile variable age and sex are not indicator in the disaster preparedness of the elderly. However, the educational attainment of the elderly persons matter in their preparedness before, during disaster, or during calamity. It only shows that the monthly income is an indicator in disaster preparedness by the elderly. Also, for the significance of the study, so this research will be beneficial to the following stakeholders. Elderly, to help them deeply understand themselves and develop proper and effective coping mechanisms. Families of the elderly, to help them assist and guide their significant family member when disaster will come. Nurses and caregivers, for them to have a better background in giving optimal care to the elderly. LGU or local government unit, to help them understand the importance of disaster and execute better response when it comes to calamities. Barangay Health Unit, the results of this study will help the Barangay Health Station to properly execute the protocols which were implemented by the government and will have a triage the people who needs first aids or are suffering from medical conditions and other injuries which were caused by ongoing disaster. For the future researchers to have a better understanding this situation and do an immense study on disaster preparedness among the elderly. So for the theoretical conceptual framework, we selected the autumn self-care theory, which is defined as the act of nurse assisting in the provision and management of the self-care to maintain or improve human functioning at home level of effectiveness. So self-care is the practice of activities individuals initiate to perform their own behalf or well-being. So that's Gonzalo 2019. So individuals plan their actions to meet their own needs to maintain an overall wellness. As you can see, the top of this one, here the scheme diagram of the theoretical and conceptual framework used in the study. So top of this is the RM self-care nursing theory. On the left side of the box is the profile of the elderly, which consists of age, sex, educational attainment, and monthly income. On the right side box is the preparedness level, which has disaster prevalence, factors contributing to the risks, protection, and preventive measures. So if an elderly is prepared when disaster comes, then she is capable to perform self-care that enables them to maintain the maximum human functional abilities and decrease their vulnerability. However, due to the profile factors on the other aspects, the elderly will not be able to carry out the overall self-care. So the outcome of this one is disaster preparedness among the elderly.
Methodology. The research design was quantitative descriptive, and a survey questionnaire was used with 50 participants. The participants were in the age group of 60 to 90 years old living across Negros Occidental and selected through purpose subsampling. The instrument used for data collection is a researcher-made questionnaire. To test the instrument's validity, it was tested using the good and skates evaluation by three nursing faculty and scored 3.54, which is interpreted as very good. On the other hand, reliability was tested using convex alpha with a 0.88 score, which is acceptable. For the data gathering procedure, upon approval of Research Ethics Office, the participants were selected and informed consents were distributed and signed. Next, the questionnaire was sent via Google Forms. The questionnaire was divided into two parts: demographic profile of respondents and their preparedness level regarding disaster prevalence, factors that contribute to risk, and protection and preventive measures. The statistical treatment. For the first objective, frequency percentage distribution was used to process data, while for the second to the fourth objective, frequency, mean, and distribution was used. Then, to test the significant relationship in the hypothesis, chi-square was used. Lastly, for the ethical considerations, before the interview, consent was asked first through Google survey as the researchers adhered to the policy of no consent, no interview. Moreover, beneficence was practiced by minimizing risks of the study and maximizing benefits. Autonomy was shown by respecting the participants' choice whether to answer or not. Justice was demonstrated through the researchers' fairness and integrity, wherein the results were not manipulated. Non-maleficence was followed by following health protocols during the pandemic.
Next, we have the results and discussion. First, we have the table 1.1, which presents the profiling of the elderly. And the result shows that most of the participants are 60 to 69 years old. Majority of overall participants are female. Most of the elderly have a college degree, and 30% of the elderly answered non-applicable on their monthly income. Next, we have the table 2.1, which presents the level of preparedness of elderly regarding disaster prevalence. And the result shows that under the indicators, age, educational attainment, and monthly income, the variables that garnered the highest weighted mean are all interpreted as prepared, and these are under the age of 70 to 79 years old, those who have postgraduate studies, and elderly with monthly income of 20,000 and above. Meanwhile, under sex, male garnered the highest but interpreted as moderately prepared. Next, we have the table 2.2, which presents the level of preparedness of elderly regarding factor increasing the risk of elderly to disaster. And the result shows that those who acquired the highest weighted mean under indicators of age were mostly 70 to 79 years old. For educational attainment, those who graduated college and those with monthly income of 20,000 and above are interpreted as prepared. Meanwhile, under sex, both male and female garnered an equal weighted mean, interpreted also as prepared. Next, we have the table 2.3, which presents the level of preparedness of elderly on protection and preventive measures. So the result shows that the variables under each indicators that garner the highest weighted mean are all interpreted as prepared. And last, we have the table 3, which presents the relationship between disaster preparedness and profile variables. And the result shows that age and sex have no significant relationship and not an indicator of disaster preparedness of elderly people. Meanwhile, educational attainment and monthly income are identified as an indicators and have a significant relationship between disaster preparedness of elderly people.
For the conclusion, results indicated that in terms of disaster prevalence and protective and preventive measures, the participants are moderately prepared, while for factors contributing to the risk, they are deemed prepared. Furthermore, no significant relationship has been established between disaster preparedness and age and sex. This implies that those did not influence level of preparedness, but rather education and income, as both establish weak significance and moderate significance respectively. Education raises disaster preparedness, which in turn reduces the likelihood of being affected by a disaster, where individuals acquire knowledge, skills, and competencies that can influence their preparatory efforts. Hence, the need for formal education and raising of disaster awareness in every community through posters, seminars, and advocacies, and others. As for level of income, its preparedness favors more those who have high income as they can acquire resources easily, including technology and materials needed during disasters. Furthermore, national governments should continue to invest in disaster risk reduction measures such as early warning systems or evacuation centers for inclusive safety. Next, for our recommendation. the government agencies to provide seminars to the family regarding disaster preparedness because it can help develop the knowledge and skills for disaster preparedness and also provide an awareness within the family in order to avoid fatality, especially in the elderly. Promote collaboration between nurse and caregivers to share their expertise in promoting healthcare and preparedness with more critical planning in advance of a disaster by preparing individuals, communities, and vulnerable population such as the elderly so that the potential hazards are reduced when disaster strikes. The local government should prioritize increasing the safety of elderly and the poverty in the event of a disaster, since they have the limited resources, such as financial, and that the government has the authority and funds to make policies and aid assistance for low-income elderlies. The barangay health unit should be able to engage the elderly in a community to discuss disaster preparedness and needs. Qualitative research can also include a body of knowledge on how to improve the disaster preparedness of the elderly.
As for the utilization, the study results relate to the respective LGU's DRRMC. A copy was endorsed to the local DSWD or Barangay Health Unit and were disseminated to the Philippine Red Cross Disaster Management Services, or also known as DMS. The data will also be available to serve basis for various government agencies and developing and improving policies and programs and seminars regarding disaster preparedness to the elderly. These are the references used in the study. Acknowledgements. This research study becomes a reality with the kind support and help of many individuals. The researchers would like to extend their sincere thanks to all of them. Foremost, we want to offer this endeavor to our God Almighty for the wisdom He bestowed upon us, the strength, peace of mind, good health, and with His grace we are able to finish this research. We would also like to express our gratitude towards our family for the encouragement and support in any aspect and who served as our inspiration to pursue this undertaking and helped us in completion of this paper. We are also grateful and indebted to the College of Nursing staff and faculty for their guidance and constant supervision, as well as for providing necessary information regarding this research and also for their support in completing this endeavor. We'd also like to express our special gratitude and thanks to our research instructor, Dr. Leslie Young and Dr. Shaila Trahera, for imparting their knowledge and expertise in the study and for patiently guiding us since the beginning of this course until the completion of this research. For our validators, we are thankful and we appreciate your efforts for reviewing and correcting our research instruments that we are able to continue and finish this endeavor. And lastly, for the Ethics Review Board, for the considered endorsement and all the respondents, for their willingness to participate and cooperation in providing honest response to all the questions solicited in this study. Thank you.